We just spoke with Kyle Federley. He's the equipment manager for Syracuse. Cascade, a company in the Syracuse area, made the helmets as we're set for the X face-off. They produced those helmets before the quarterfinal game in a gamble that Syracuse would win over Georgetown and get this far. And Nike came up with a brand new shoes in one day. How about that for efficiency? It's a brand new look for Syracuse. We're underway in the national semifinal.
Face-offs are going to be one of the essentials for Syracuse. Regular season matchup, Hopkins dominated. They won 20 of 24. Round one goes to Syracuse. Steve Panarelli, their freshman winger, scooping up that loose ball.
Danny Brennan in the X will be challenged today. Taking over for Jeff Keel in that role for Syracuse. Was very effective last week against Georgetown, the national quarters, up in Ithaca, New York. This is Valone to the right-hand cradle. Steve Valone, 20, the orange jersey. Had the game-winning assist to Sean Lindsay. 5 seconds left to beat Georgetown in a thriller last weekend to keep the incredible streak of 22 appearances straight in the semifinals alive. Valone from Corning East High School in New York State. Doherty, right-hand cradle, number 1. Interesting story for Doherty, who transferred from Hofstra. This is Powell. His pass a little sloppy. Free ground ball at midfield. Shovel ahead nicely by Syracuse, the long sticks. Kept alive. Lindsay. Powell lost it again. And scooped up by Hopkins.
Scott Smith, Hopkins goalie with that grounder. Powell was trying to sneak from behind the cage. A little crafty play.
Harned with a long stick. Helps the successful clear for the Blue Jays, and the home whites as the higher seed. We had a huge crowd in the opener of the semifinals, mostly backing Navy. I'm sure by the time the fans are done tailgating between games, it'll be a pro-Hopkins crowd here in Baltimore this afternoon.
Couldn't have scripted a better day here in Baltimore. Temperature in the upper 70s with a breeze, sunny. Great field this year with the new sport grass. Last year, remember, we played in mud and slop. I think that's great for these players. You'll get to see Mike Powell's best. You'll get to see Kyle Harrison's best on a dry track.
This is Harrison. Talked about on top of the broadcast. Little shake and go move. And a quick shot on Panarelli is wide. Backed up nicely, though, by the Jays and Barry. Kyle Barry slips past his man, unsettled here. Well, Hopkins attack. Barry the return pass. Shot off the pipe. Crossbar from Rakowski. Deflects all the way out, and Syracuse gets it back.
Rakowski left-handed down the alley off some quick ball movement by the Blue Jays. Rattled that one past Piper off the post. We see our two netminders, Scott Smith. People think he's a vulnerable spot for the Hopkins team, and Jay Piper, all he's done is compile a 7-1 record in NCAA playoff games. The lefty has won a national title when he's a freshman. So impressed with his poise around the cage. His ball handling skills are excellent as well.
From Townsend, Maryland is Jay Piper, right around this neighborhood. A lot of friends and family for him.
Teammates of Ryan Boyles, teammates of Kevin Bolins at the high school levels at Gilman School. State champion when they were seniors. You surprised?
Not at all with those names. Brett Bucktooth from Lafayette, New York, just south of Syracuse. Steve Lakutis, 43 in the orange. Another Syracuse area native from that legendary West Genesee High School program.
Crockett last week was an inch away from having a monster Sunday. 3 pipe shots.
Lakutis, left-hand cradle, spins out, top of the box. Bucktooth.
That's Syracuse's throwback play. Well, you'll see a midfielder dodge towards the cage. He'll stop on a dime and then throw the ball back to where he came from.
Here's Powell. Quick shot.
The University of Maryland had great success with that throwback play. Powell's going to get his shots, I tell you. Last week, he was a little quiet in the first half. Exploded in the third quarter with 3 straight goals. Plays with an uncommon energy. Never takes a play off. Coach Desko lucky to tap into that Powell family because they have given Syracuse University 10 years of quality lacrosse.
Have they ever? M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. Dave Ryan, Quint Kessler, Lee Elsmo on the field. Syracuse, the Orange, recently nicknamed officially. No more orange men for them. Sent wide by Valone. He did not score last week against Georgetown. A big midfielder. Good two-way player for Syracuse.
That's what makes this midfield unit so dangerous. It's the three of them, Lindsey, Vallone, and Doherty, all good size.
Powell creates a spectacular athlete. Doherty winds. Thought about a shot, then scores! Kevin Doherty! First goal of this national semifinal. And Syracuse bolts out to a 1-0 lead.
Mike Powell will not get credit with this assist, but look at the way he draws the double team. It's Watson and Garvey. They respect Powell. The ball movement is sharp for Syracuse. Doherty pumps it. Harned loses his edge, and then Doherty steps into space and nails the outside shot. Nice mustache. Kevin Doherty, the transfer from Hofstra, grew up in Central New York. Probably always wanted to be a Syracuse Orange.
That he did, but was recruited by Hofstra. John Desko telling us as we see Brennan operating in the X again for Syracuse. A freshman wins another big draw. He was so effective against Georgetown last week.
2 upgrades for Syracuse University this season. Dan Brennan, the freshman, Farmingdale High School, has been sensational over the last 3 weeks at faceoffs, and the defense has gotten much better. Ditzel, Wright, DePietro, Panarelli, John Gallagher, all gaining momentum and experience as the season has matured.
Ditzel, left-hand cradle. From Geneva, New York, that's the home of the Hobart Statesman, longtime Division III. Kings, they're D1 now. Ditzel started his career there, went to Herkimer Community College in between Syracuse and Rochester in upstate New York. And then transferred to Syracuse, had a 4.0 GPA, did Ditzel. His coach John Desko tells us he's like a sponge. He'll take in everything, and despite the fact he's a transfer, came to the team midway through. He's learned everything defensively. Now starting with a long stick on close defense. Lakuda's a quick shot, quick stick trap.
Nice save
by Smith.
Yeah, it was a great save.
Play at midfield.
Tough call here.
Syracuse gets it back as it's out of bounds against Hopkins.
Benson Irwin, the defensive midfielder for Hopkins, drops his shoulder. He becomes the offensive player. Delivers the blow like a football player. Would drop his shoulders, and that ball trickles out of his stick and out of bounds.
Irwin, a huge game against North Carolina last week. 3 points, a career best.
Great story. One of 4
defensive player.
One of 4 adopted children.
Rommel's shot is high over the crossbar.
Benson Irwin, one of 4 adopted children. He had bad cross-eyed. He's had surgeries when he was a youngster. They never thought he'd play ball sports, but they fixed his vision as a young toddler, and here he is. Loves boxing and martial arts. It's his hobby in the offseason.
Pretty vigorous hobby. Irwin grew up in the shadows of Homewood Field, right here in Baltimore, about 4 miles away from the Hopkins campus. Distinct home field advantage for the Blue Jays. This is Powell. A streak of orange, left-hand shot. Smith does the splits, kicks it out.
Matt Pinto may have made that save in front, but you can see how Syracuse wants to use Mike Powell today. Not only is he operating from behind the net, they're putting him up top also. Delayed call against Syracuse coming up.
Field and Watson helping clear. There is a flag behind the play. And it is a push call. Technical 30. Crockett, the guilty party against Smith.
Crockett just hustling. So many times behind the play as a goaltender, you'll get that occasional welcome hello slash from an attackman. Syracuse always known for their ability to forecheck or ride. Their attackmen have always been tenacious. They earn the ball back. They make clearing the ball upfield very, very difficult.
So far in the NCAA's, 2 games, the wins over Providence and North Carolina. Hopkins 5 of 6 on the man up. Here's their first chance of this game. 30-second technical, push call. Quick stick, trying to go, scored Rakowski down low. First of the game for Hopkins. Make him 6 of 7 with a man up. Jay Piper, no answer there.
It's all about precision passing. Boland to Lesor, back to Boland. Tic-tac-toe, triangle passing. You know what's impressive about that possession was typically on the extra man. Teams will throw the ball around once, try to get comfortable. Hopkins went right for the jugular there. Boland to Rakowski. And that unit continues to be on fire. You know, your power play units, your extra man units, typically go in cycles, Dave. You're either hot or you're cold. And right now there's some good mojo going on with that group.
Hat trick for Rukowski last week in the win over North Carolina. Procedure call goes against Hopkins on the draw, so Brennan again gets the job done, and Syracuse will take over.
Lou Braun for Hopkins moved early. You're going to see Greg Pizer, Lou Braun, Kyle Harrison, mostly at the face-off X for Johns Hopkins, and Brennan will go as long as he keeps winning.
Doherty played his high school lacrosse at Hager High School in the city of Syracuse, even though he attended Corcoran High School, but Corcoran didn't have a lacrosse team. Doherty, number 1, top of the box, has the Syracuse goal so far. Went to Hofstra, smashed up his ankle. Slash call's coming here. Crockett, delay, slow whistle called. Buckton's shot blocked away by Smith. There will be a penalty against Hopkins as Crockett went through and he just got smacked right on top of the helmet. That'll be a 1-minute slash call. Man up coming again for Syracuse.
That was the definition of a slash. When a player's stick viciously contacts an opponent in any area other than the stick or gloved hand. Textbook definition. You go to Webster's and you're going to see that one right there.
Tom Garvey, guilty party, so he'll sit for the next 60 seconds. And the Orange, an opportunity to regain the lead. Hopkins' last 3 games has allowed 4 man-up goals. There's 2 in the NCAA tournament. Syracuse one more time with their man advantage. They score, Buckton! The man advantage goal there. Naked Falone with a goal, and Syracuse does regain the lead, 2-1.
Back-to-back extra man goals, the specialty situations. Anytime you give Mike Powell behind the cage time to distribute, you're in trouble. Valone catches it and rattles it off the post. There's Mikey Powell behind the net. Feeds to the weak side. Nothing fancy about that play. That's all about Powell's vision and Valone's accuracy. You talked about his size, Dave. 6'2", 211. Matchup problems, and when he can see the net and get a good look at it, he is so accurate.
150th career assists for Mike Powell, which ties the great Ryan Powell, now a volunteer assistant coach on this team. 4th all-time Syracuse assist list, but off the one face-off, Rukowski handles for Hopkins. Goal scorer there, Valone. His roommates with Sean Lindsay, who had the game winner against Georgetown last week. 5 seconds left. The clock at Cornell was not working, so the Syracuse players didn't know if they'd won the game.
Early shot, Syracuse really controlling this game, having an upper hand in terms of quality scoring chances. Syracuse looks like they're almost in a zone here, Dave.
Feeding in low. Syracuse will take over as the long stick. Pinelli working hard to help swing that out of bounds against Hopkins on the near sideline. Just a freshman, what a story he has been. Steve Pinelli from Farmingdale, that great program on the island.
Panarelli, the hype meeting reality finally, coming out of high school, probably the highest recruited defensive long pole in the nation. And it's not easy, folks, going from the high school level to the college level. But now you can see his great skills, his aggression. It reminds me a lot of some Syracuse old school defenders who got out in your face and played you tough, like Pat McCabe, Rick Beardsley.
Ditzel, now springing to the offensive end. Off of Greg Rommel, yet another Syracuse area native. And so many on this Orange roster. Baltimore, where we are now, huge hotbed for producing lacrosse talent, as is Long Island, and Central Western New York, big as well. Although the game is certainly growing. Rommel shot, kicked out by Smith. 4th save for Scott Smith.
21!
Powell creating, trying to go to Rommel. Just beyond his reach, though, over his cross, battle for it. DePietro pushing and shoving. And the call will go against Hopkins. Orange take it back.
Little miscommunication by Johns Hopkins, Coach Petramala. You know, in their last 2 playoff losses to Princeton 2 years ago, and last year in the national title to Virginia, they were shaky early in the games. Virginia got off to a 4-0 lead in their their semifinal game against Princeton 2 years ago. That game was over at the end of the 1st quarter. So Hopkins shaky early on.
Crockett hits the pipe. Little Gary Gate type try. The former Syracuse star, the leaping shot attempt. He draws some iron. Here comes Hopkins again. Ensign Irwin. Contributing offensively last week against the Tar Heels. 15-9 Hopkins win in the national quarters. Got them here to the semifinals. Irwin will sub out.
Second midfield for Hopkins on. Syracuse back to their man-to-man defense. Syracuse not known for his own defense, Dave. Truthfully, they've always had such terrific athletes on the defensive end to match up, step out, and play aggressive defense. This year, they've had to tweak things a little.
Byrne for Pizer. Jake Byrne, the freshman. Worked down low, shot sent just wide by Barry. And backed up nicely by Hopkins. They'll keep an offensive end here. Just over 4 minutes left, first quarter.
Nice check by John Wright. You see Barry with the front swing, but John Wright stayed with him every step of the way. Wright is a vanilla defender. I tell you, there's nothing fancy about his game. Blue-collar type guy.
Byrne again, right-handed credit. Work around the perimeter of the box.
Syracuse in his zone.
Quick try. Sent just wide. LaSure. Kowski able to back it up before it crosses the end line. Play continues.
Syracuse packing in the zone. They're willing to sacrifice time of possession.
Byrne gets physical. Jake Byrne scores! What a move down low. Beats the defense and Piper to tie the game at 2.
Super slow-mo, you see Byrne inside roll against Jared Park. Park goes for the takeaway check. Somehow the ball stays in Byrne's stick. Jay Piper nearly had this. Watch him turn the corner. Freeze it right there. You see how the player dodges this way and then rolls inside. You can roll it to create the angle. Somehow the ball stays in his stick. You see frustration by Jared Park. He thought he made the check. The ball hit off of Jay Piper's elbow, I believe, Dave. Byrne, only a freshman.
From Potomac, Maryland, the only freshman on the Hopkins man-up unit. Battle at the X again for it. Off the wings, who's going to get that ground ball? A lot of contact. Boy, Powell just got slammed to the ground. A technical push call. 32nd is going to go against Hopkins, so Syracuse has the man up. Man up Syracuse. Quick stick try sent just wide by Zink. Rebound loose and the yard score. Knee down low. Third of the game for Syracuse. Yes, Brian Knee is feeling all right after having his bell rung last week against Georgetown.
Knee, one of 3 native Marylanders on the Syracuse roster. Little head and shoulder fake, and then wraps the ball around Scott Smith. But give him credit, off that loose ball behind the cage. That's a great time to attack. Knee realized that Hopkins' defense wasn't set. They were flat-footed, and he pushed towards the middle of the field. Extra man goal by Knee.
He was absolutely tattooed by Georgetown's midi Mike White last week at the end of that game.
Got him right under the chin, right in the perfect spot. Mike Tyson used to talk about nailing a guy in the temple or under the chin, right on that button. That's where he got it.
Knee a goal and an assist. Syracuse 2 for 2 in the man up, but Knee did not miss a practice. He couldn't, of course, play in the rest of the game last week after taking that huge hit. He was laid out flat and was not moving for a few seconds. All right. All week long in workouts for Syracuse. And certainly okay now. We saw the face-off numbers. Danny Brennan again, impressive.
He's doing it. I tell you, Syracuse has really struggled in that department all year. They've tried Jeff Keogh, they've tried Panarelli, even Mike Powell's taking some face-offs.
Powell spins, shoots, missed the mark. Mike Powell telling us that if there is a weakness in his game, it's the shooting aspect. Try to learn from his brothers, Ryan and Casey, growing up in Carthage, New York, about an hour or so north of Syracuse. three Powell brothers taking over the Syracuse record books, all wearing number 22. Lindsay some time. Goes to the right-hand cradle. Orange up by 1. Already a better result than what they've had the last couple times out.
They scored 5 goals in the entire game. They never had the ball. Mike Powell was a spectator in that game. And anyone who thought that this game would in any way mirror that game was in for a rude awakening.
Zink with it, right-hand cradle as he spins away. A lot of contact. Pass for knees, free, he scores! 2 straight for Brian Nee in Syracuse. And the Orange expand the lead.
This play is all about stick protection, and Steve Vallone slicing through the double team somehow manages to squirt away, and then Nee with the fadeaway jump shot, creating space. But look at Vallone, he's got 3 Hopkins defenders on him. Nee senses pressure, turns away, and accuracy right here, boom, nails the lower corner. Vallone to Nee, both players with sensational individual efforts.
What a story for Brian Nee and his grandmother, Sally Daly, who was a lieutenant, 2nd grade in the Navy. She's back home in Syracuse, watching her grandson. After her military service, she went to nursing school at Syracuse as an injured player for Hopkins. Got her nursing degree. And that legendary program up in Syracuse, we talked about West Genesee High School. She was a school nurse there for a long time. Mother of 5. Her husband was a Secret Service agent. And Brian Nee continuing that great family tradition with 2 goals here. We'll see what's up with Hopkins.
Looks like it's 27 or 37. That'll be Lou. It is 27. Lou Braun, the face-off man. Looks like it was a shoulder type injury, it looked like. I'll tell you, these face-off guys put themselves in some violent collisions when the wing players come in to attack those loose balls. They're basically a stationary target. And once that ball kicks free, they are open to be crunched. And that time, Braun took the hard end of a very well-placed Syracuse check.
Smith for Watson with a long stick. Lob pass for Harrison, successful. Good clear off a soft ride from Syracuse.
Left side. Left side. Left 16, left side. Back it out.
Around the perimeter, they'll go with it.
Close it out.
Now, watching Syracuse play last week, Dave, up at Solcom Field at Cornell, they talked about it afterwards. They were tight. They were feeling the pressure. The quarterfinal round is the toughest round emotionally, especially for a Syracuse team that had 21 straight and now make it 22 straight trips here to Memorial Day weekend.
Pfeiffer off the save. Outlet pass, Syracuse on the run. Orange will change out some defensive midfielders, get their high-level skill players on the field, like Mike Powell handles now. Hard to believe he was shut out the last time these teams played. This is Alex Zink. Powell trying to create. Rommel shot. Big save, Smith with a goal stick. And Crockett to track it down as the quarter comes to an end. Exciting 15 minutes from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. 2 coaches who know about winning national championships. Petramala and Esco. 4-2 game after 1. Last 2 games between these longtime lacrosse powerhouses, all Hopkins. 23 goal spread total. 19-8 in the national semis last year, 17-5 this season in Baltimore.
Domination so far by Syracuse, winning faceoffs, getting quality shots.
Teams switch ends. Brennan and able to win that draw with Pizer. Ball loose for a moment. Hopkins the ground ball. Jays set it up. Down by a pair. Ball and a feed. Not mentioned Connor Ford's name yet. Where has the Bronco been?
Bronco's kind of a complimentary guy. It all starts with Harrison or Boland getting the defense moved, and it ends with the big guy.
Tied his career high, 5 goals last week against North Carolina.
Syracuse again in his zone.
Barry backs in, right-handed cradle. Spin shoots. How much mustard in that one, Piper? Able to grab it out of midair with ease.
Jared Park with the defense. Two-sport athlete at Syracuse University, and that is saying something. A soccer player, an elite soccer player, and a lacrosse player, a defender with great speed.
One-time Big East Rookie of the Year on the soccer pitch. Led the nation one year in total points in soccer. Now getting it done on the lacrosse field for John Desko. Amazing story to me. Always incredible to see that kind of transition. An athlete may not play as much lacrosse, maybe in high school, maybe football, soccer, the things, and then they pick it up in college and become great players.
Yeah, and the time demands. The time, both those sports now year-round commitments. You know, it's not like you just play lacrosse in March, April, and May anymore. Year-round weight training. They play in the fall. They'll practice for 5 or 6 weeks.
Rocking for Powell. Look for Malone. Handcuffed him. Ball loose. Doherty feeding instead of shooting. And because that's a pass and out of bounds, Hopkins gets it back. He thought about cranking and going for a shot attempt. Instead, looked for a feed down low.
That aggressive pass tells me that Syracuse, they're freelancing, they're comfortable, they're not feeling any pressure. That's a great flowing play by Doherty. That's Syracuse lacrosse right there.
Darby with a long stick. Starts upfield, McDermott.
Powell with the over-the-head check. Talked about his riding ability.
Now it's Harrison. It's a Wharton finalist, one of the nation's best lacrosse players.
He's been content to give it up today and become a spectator.
Yeah, second time in 2 years Kyle's been a finalist for that great award.
Hopkins this year, they've scored in bunches, Dave. They've put together some amazing goal-scoring runs, and really that dates back to last year. That's one of their keys. When they start winning face-offs, they can score 3, 4, 5 at a time.
Byrne. Joe McDermott. We'll get it back to Jake Byrne. Ball was deflected. Hopkins will keep it. Back down to Lee Felsmo.
Fellas, Lou Braun taken off the field. A lot of pain, a lot of ice on his shoulder, and he's been looked at extensively. A lot of talk to him. I asked him afterwards whether he'll play. He said, I will play. He said whatever they told him, it kind of went right over his head. He's waiting for the pain to subside. Should be back in, but not real soon.
Well, never a good sign to see that jersey off.
And the helmet. That'll put more pressure on Kyle Harrison to take more face-offs. And Greg Pizer also.
Down McDermott. Byrne work around the perimeter.
Syracuse still in a zone defense here, and Hopkins really has not penetrated for any high-quality shots against the zone. Great coaching strategy by Desko.
Byrne has one of the goals scored by Hopkins in this game. And by a pair here, second quarter. Feed down low for him. Beyond his reach, the end of the cross, trying to hit Jake Byrne down low. Dave Petrolano's team, unforced error in the offensive zone.
I tell you what the defense does by switching between a man and a zone, it really has Hopkins on their heels in terms of thinking too much. Barry to Byrne, frustration, trying to go for the home run pass. Question is, are they uptight, or do you have to credit Syracuse with coming out with that defensive wrinkle and by putting the pressure on Hopkins? I think it's a little both.
Nice athletic play. Midfield for Syracuse. Kieran Murphy grabbing that out of midair. Climbing the ladder. Keeps the clear alive. Little plays like that don't go in the stats book, but it's critical. And they'll lose the ball on a turnover. Doherty has one already. Goal line extended. Again, they'll work around the perimeter. Here's Crockett.
This is the most dangerous offense in college lacrosse. 6 guys who can score, 6 guys all who have individual skills and mold together. It's a very, very scary unit.
The scariest perhaps of all has it right-handed cradle now. It's Powell. First to admit that his shot isn't the greatest, but as a creator, as an athlete, tough to top him anywhere, anytime. Winding Malone. Saw the net ripple. It was the goal stick from Smith, who got a piece of it, kept it alive.
Malone rattled that off the crossbar, and the goal shook. He basically lifted the goal off its moorings. 12-yard rifle. Hey, if you're Johns Hopkins right now, you're not respecting these Syracuse midfielder shots. You're packing it in too much, and they're getting good looks. It's just a matter of time before Malone, Lindsay, and Doherty start crushing those shots from 12 yards.
Hopkins will change out midfielders now. Bolin handles. He and Rakowski together. First game between these two teams. Hopkins led at half, 10-3. Good save, Piper, as he climbs the ladder. Lobbing Harrison, who tried to go up high. Petro long stick. Here's John Wright. Couldn't touch that. Turnover off the end line. And Hopkins get it. Ball right back for Dave Petramala.
Petramala relaying signals into basically his defensive captain, Chris Watson. Syracuse back in the zone defense. It has really been the tonic for their ills against Hopkins offense. This is a Hopkins team that scored on them quite a bit in the last two matchups. This zone is doing the trick. When you got a guy like Jay Piper, the zone makes a lot of sense. He's hot right now. He's seeing the ball like it's a beach ball. And this limits Hopkins' inside shots.
Two big saves early in this quarter. Slow whistle flag. A lot of contact. Rakowski charging to the goal. Holding call. And that will give Hopkins the man up.
Watch Rakowski press to the net. Brennan playing some defense. Basically just hooks him around the net. The double team is there. Ryan Hogan. There's Brennan. What a great story. Farmingdale High School, you talk about a talented team. Panarelli, Brennan, Engelke of Towson, Danowski of Duke, and yet they didn't win the New York State Championship. It was Ward Melville and Mike Masser.
Shocking.
Excuse me, Wes Jenny and Mike Masser.
That's right. There's the Bronco. Connor Ford finally gets it going. The man-up goal, their second man-up tally of this first half. His first of the semifinal. Make it 4-3.
Skillful passing by Hopkins, and they get it to their sharpshooter, who steps in, drops his stick. Now watch the reaction the goalie gives Ford when he drops his stick down low. He shoots the ball so fast, you almost have to guess. And that time, Piper went down to his knees, and the ball went up top.
Procedure call against Hopkins on the faceoff. Connor Ford's 43rd of the season, 100th of his career. Comes in a big moment. The 43 tallies 10th best single season in Hopkins history. We're coming from M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. We're going Quint Kessler, Luke Elsball on the field. Syracuse, the lower seed in the visiting orange. Brand new helmets. This new Syracuse look, never before seen until now.
You like it?
I'm in favor.
I think it's pretty flashy. Syracuse has worn the orange helmet in the mid-90s when Casey Powell was a youngster. They obviously have always had this orange jersey, but the combination of all three is unique and new, and it's working right now.
And the company upstate taking that gamble at Syracuse to beat Georgetown. What do you do with all those helmets? Well, I guess you use them next season. And in fall ball, they wanted to make the national TV debut today on ESPN2, and they did it. Survival against the Hoyas. Spectacular Powell. Malone left-handed shot. Smith saw it on the way. Locked it with the body. Outlet pass. Benson Irwin. On the move, Field. Shot again from Ford. Loves to go down low.
Counterattack for Syracuse.
The Petro effort. Can't keep it in bounds. And the Orange turn it right back over to the Blue Jays.
Gutsy save by Jay Piper, and then DePietro can't handle. Jay Piper's got a bunch of superstitions. He's wearing the same gray t-shirt that he wore in high school. DePietro can't handle it, and it trickles out of bounds. But Pfeiffer making the save on Connor Ford. He has so many superstitions. One of them, he stands next to Sean Lindsay during the national anthem. The other is he's wearing a t-shirt from high school. Must be kind of a raunchy t-shirt at this stage.
Would be by now. His teammates tell us, well, he's got superstitions for 3 days before a game, 2 days, the whole deal. Shot whistled wide. Ripped there.
I've always been impressed with his poise between the pipes, and I think his playoff record shows that. 7-1 in NCAA playoff games. Won the championship as a freshman.
Turner had that last shot. Perry creating. Little quick stick try. Looking to go down low. Pizer broken up first though. And a crease call against Hopkins. Syracuse a chance to clear now against the Hopkins ride.
Excellent defense by Syracuse.
Well, an official got in the way. Officials part of play. We saw that last week as DePietro tried to go cross field.
I saw a play this year on a cross-field pass like that hit the referee in the back, and then an offensive player scooped it up and took it in for a goal. So referees are part of the game. They are part of the field.
John Deska doesn't like it much. He tried to go to John Wright with a long stick, but the official blocked his way, and it was way over Wright's head.
You hope at the end of the year that plays like that equal out, but to see that happen in a game like this can be awful frustrating.
Harrison to Rakowski. Kyle Harrison, right-hand cradle. Now it's Poland. Switches hands. Quick, athletic player. Barry for Bowman. Harrison resets. Connor Ford sort of lurking. The man in front of that goal. About 5'10", 220 pounds. Shot. Rakowski draws iron again. A ping right off the pipe. Deflects all the way back to midfield. Had so much muster on the shot from Rakowski.
40 yards up to midfield. That ball was in the air off the pipe.
Now Rakowski again. One-timer scores! Quick stick. Matt Rakowski got it in the shooting zone. Makes no mistake. And we're tied at 4.
Talk about an important ground ball play right here. It's Watson and Garvey getting the ball to Harrison, and unofficially Boland's got 3 assists. Watch this little pass inside, boom. Rakowski doesn't hit the pipe this time. And let me tell you, the fans are all here right now because they were a late arriving crowd for this game too after tailgating in between games. But this place is electric.
Brennan Pizer at the X. Danny Brennan, the freshman, wins it again. Push from behind. DePietro wants a call. He'll get a penalty. It'll be a 30-second technical push against Hopkins. And Syracuse will go up here.
DePietro started his career as a Hopkins Blue Jay, and that's Greg Pizer, one of the Hopkins midfielders in face-off. A lot of calls in this first half. Both teams with 2 extra man goals. Specialty situations, face-offs, and goaltending typically determines playoff games.
Man up for 30. Let's see if Syracuse can take advantage. Powell behind the cage now. From Need. Malone shot deflected. He's upset with himself. Wanted to get that on cage.
You don't get those kind of shots very often. An absolute laser from 10 yards with no one in his face.
Rocket little time. Back for Malone. Left-hand shovel pass. Knee scores! Brian Knee does it again for Syracuse. A hat trick for him. And the Orange regain the lead 5-4.
The senior from Boys Latin School just up the road here in Baltimore. Wonderful form of his shot, the way he steps to the cage. Watch him plant his back foot and step, full rotation, boom, nails the far side. That is why the Syracuse team is so dangerous. You got Powell, you got Crockett, you got Lindsay, Valone, and Knee. They all can shoot. They're all threats.
And you just know his grandma, 84-year-old Sally Daly, who served her time as a second-grade lieutenant World War II in the Navy. Fitting on this Memorial Day weekend, certainly. And Navy being here, she has got to be pleased back home in upstate New York. McDermott, top of the box. We'll get things reset with Byrne now. Under 5 to go, first half.
You see the patterns, much like basketball. Basketball's 5-on-5. Lacrosse is 6-on-6. And the difference is in lacrosse, you can attack from behind. But the fundamentals are the same.
Very great move, a pass instead. Quick shot, McDermott. Laser beam, trying to go low and pick that corner to the left of Piper. Here's the target, not by much. Byrne restarts play. Quick shot, wide.
Syracuse, off of those dead balls, they're in a zone defense. Putting a lot of pressure on those shoulders of Jay Piper.
Lesueur triggers play. Pizer for McDermott. Byrne trying to tally again. Lesueur. Feed goes for Ford. He gave it up. Hopkins still has it. Pizer. It's a return pass. Quick shot. Oh, Piper up for a big save on Greg Pizer, the sophomore midfielder.
Wonderful, wonderful defense by Syracuse. Pizer from 14 yards. Don't think he's going to score on Jay Piper from there. Easy save for the lefty.
Park marching it in, got physical, and eventually he'll head back. Powell starts play. Crockett has knee out there. He's got 3 already in this first half. Smith's got 5 saves so far. 7 for Piper. The other end for Syracuse. Crockett, right hand cradle. That Pinto all over him. Bucktooth trying to get fancy with the feed for Rommel. Pinto sprint forward. Powell's got that incredible speed.
Oh, look at Mike
Pinto
Powell.
got there first. Look at the ride from Powell. Penalties coming on Mike Powell.
He got him with the free hand, Dave. He got him with his free hand. Great hustle.
And eventually a penalty is coming against Syracuse. Making another penalty. Going to be 2. Lesueur was knocked down. 2 slow whistle flags have been dropped by the officials already. In front, quick shot goes wide.
Wow, Bowen got tossed to the turf finally in this play. Watch Mike Powell's hustle here. Watch his free hand. Watch his free hand. He's the fastest player on the field right now. Right there, he got him with his left hand around the collar. And they're going to call a hold. Now this they're going to call a push. There's Powell, signature face paint. Sales of eye black will skyrocket in lacrosse communities across America tomorrow.
Asked him about that during the season. Mike said, well, you got to look cool to play well. You just have to. It's all in the look. Starts with the attitude. Syracuse needs a pretty good attitude defensively here. Down 2 men for 30 seconds. Barry for Byrne. They'll swing around the perimeter. Only 4 men out there for Syracuse. Hopkins trying to take advantage. Rakowski at the quick stick, sent it wide.
Ford to Bowen to Rakowski, triangle passing.
This time, Matt Rakowski makes no mistake, he scores! The quick bouncer goes down low on Piper. The equalizer. 5-5 game. A hat trick for Rakowski.
Storyline's got to be the penalties, Dave. Each team with 3 extra man goals. Rakowski's got the hat trick. The confidence, though, of Lesueur to throw it inside. And look at the quick hands by Rakowski. Catches that ball up by his eyes. And boom, in 1 moment, it's down by his feet. Rakowski, originally recruited by Hopkins, went to Duke for 2 years and transferred. It's a disturbing trend that you're seeing a little more in college lacrosse, all these transfers. Both these two teams with two very significant players for Syracuse, Doherty and Doherty and DiPietro, and of course Rakowski for Hopkins.
Timeout call by Syracuse here, Quint. Minute 36 to go, still 6 seconds in the man advantage. Fourth tie we've had already in a very close game in the national semifinal. Syracuse and Hopkins, these long-time rivals again battle. Back to the studio. 90 seconds and counting, fading second quarter clock. Back to full strength now. Syracuse after Hopkins tied the game. Third of this first half for Rakowski. 6 total goals, man-up situations. How about that?
I think that just shows you the firepower that both these teams have.
Powell so far kept off the scoreboard in terms of goals.
Game one, you saw two great defensive teams, Princeton and Navy. These teams are about their offenses. Hopkins now in his own defense out of that timeout.
Doherty for Powell. Kevin Doherty, left-hand shot, scores! Second of the game for him. He started scoring for Syracuse back in the first quarter and tallies toward the end of the second period for a 6-5 Orange lead.
Didn't take long for Doherty to realize that when the ball went down to the wing, ball's up top. Now watch that on this pass. Freeze it right here, freeze it. You'll see how he makes this run to space right here, and this defender, Matt Pinto, doesn't react quick enough. Watch it. He just doesn't get there in time. And credit Doherty for stepping down to space. You see Lindsay pointing back to him, but he fills the space, much like in basketball, stepping into that lane, catching it, and then taking the jump shot.
Brennan the battle. Gets physical. And timeout called by Hopkins here with 41 seconds left. High honors. Harrison shot. Just off target. Sprint for it. Syracuse the first dare. DiPietro, the ex-Hopkins Blue Jay, wins the race on the sideline off that shot. The closest to it without going out of bounds before the ball goes out of bounds.
Petramala talks about, don't do as I did as a player, do as I say now as a coach.
Arguably the best ever defenseman.
At his position, correct.
Dave Petramala, what a career.
And the great thing about his career is it mirrored Gary and Paul Gate. So you got to see the best against the best. And I think that's what made Gary so great. And I think that's made Dave so great. That there was a guy out there named Gary Gate that he had to learn to cover. And so you had two titans.
Doherty, 10 seconds left. Tries the dipsy-do behind the back shot. Just 5 seconds to go.
It would be a shame if this weekend is the last time that we get to see Mike Powell. Baltimore Bayhawks have the first selection overall. They said, we're going to draft Mike Powell first. They've sold tickets basically with his name. And Mike all of a sudden comes out and says, I'm a little burnt out on lacrosse. I need some time off. I want to go play my guitar. There's a lot of people who think that he wants to play up in Rochester with his brothers. Imagine that attack. Ryan, Casey, and Mike, 3 Powells.
Very hard to imagine. Try and stop it.
There is Ryan Powell.
Ryan, who, along with Casey, had their points record broken by younger brother Mike earlier this year in a game against Georgetown. Seconds to go. Knee shot. He was hammered as he released it. Chris Watson sent him hard down to the artificial turf. Still a good first half for Knee. It's 6-5 at the half from here in Baltimore.